Hi, welcome to part 3. In our previous talk, we already met these 3 little nephros in our previous review on the development of the kidneys. Let us now expand on this knowledge and now take a look at the structures of the female genital tract. These are the structures that we covered so far. Now we're going to move on to these female structures. Let us first start with what we already know. Recall this hot dog on a stick. This is held by the middle pig here, which is to represent the kidneys which are second to develop. This is called the mesonephros. So this mesonephros here, similar to a hot dog on a stick, is really close to the future ovary, here drawn in blue. These two structures are close together because the early ovary comes from the gonadal ridge, and the mesonephros here comes from the same structure. So the gonadal ridge and the mesonephros derive from a single structure, and that is called the urogenital ridge. So now we're going to see how the female genital tract forms. So focus your attention here on this point. Here, we're going to draw the Mullerian duct. Notice that the Mullerian duct here is lateral to the mesonephros. This lateral to the mesonephros is lateral to the mesonephric duct. It grows inferiorly, crosses over this orange structure or the mesonephric duct in orange. It then would meet to the same structure which is on the other side. So let's now imagine how this would look like if we're going to look at these structures from the front. There will be 2 hot dogs in the middle. These are the mesonephros. We have 2 ducts one on either side. These are the Mullerian ducts. The future ovary would be here medial to the topmost part of the hot dog. Recall that inferiorly, we have here the urogenital sinus. These Mullerian ducts will become hollow or canalized. Then the ducts will fuse, and as a result of this fusion, a residual fibrous septum will form. Now at this point here, where the distal mesonephric ducts and the Mullerian ducts would meet, a tubercle will form. Just proximal to this tubercle, something happens. The septum will now resorb. It will resorb until a single endometrial cavity will be developed. Note that in the normal setting, the external fundal contour would be convex and the endometrial cavity is triangular. Now, let's go back to this tubercle or what we call the Mullerian tubercle. The Mullerian tubercle will induce the formation of the upper portion of the vagina and the fornices. Note that the lower vagina here will be formed from another structure, and this structure is the one coming from below. And this yellow structure is called the urogenital sinus. This vagina will now recanalize from below with squamous epithelium coming from the urogenital sinus. Okay, so now let's take a review. Here is the genital ridge, the future ovary. Then this unfused portion of the Mullerian duct will become the fallopian tubes. The fused portion will become the uterus. Then the Mullerian duct here induces the formation of the vagina. That is the upper 4/5 of the vagina, while the lower 1/5 of the vagina will be coming from a structure from below, which is the urogenital sinus. So, question. In Mullerian duct agenesis, which are the structures which are going to be absent? Okay, so again, these are the derivatives, the Mullerian ducts. So if you have Mullerian duct agenesis, you will have absent fallopian tubes, uterus and cervix. You will have absent Mullerian tubercle and the upper portion of the vagina. Now, in Mullerian duct agenesis, will you have ovaries? Yes, because it comes from another structure, and that's the genital ridge here. Will there be breast development? Since breast development results from estrogen coming from the ovaries, then yes, there will be breast development in Mullerian duct agenesis. Will there be vagina? Well, yes, but only the lower portion of the vagina will be present. Okay, now let's take a look at a possible question during exams. In Mullerian duct agenesis, which structures are absent? Okay, we're given this list, and those absent structures are the following. Fallopian tube here, uterus and cervix. You're also going to have absent upper vagina, but you're going to have present ovaries because it comes from genital ridge. You also have a present lower vagina because it comes from the urogenital sinus. So going back to our table here, our objective for this talk, we now know that the ovary comes from the genital ridge, while the uterus, fallopian tube, and the upper vagina comes from the Mullerian duct. And that concludes part 3 of our talk. I hope you enjoyed our little talk on the embryology of the genital urinary organs. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you again next time.